did you come back to Nigeria?
I wanted to spread my wings. I felt like I was pregnant and I couldn't have a child. I felt like my wings were sort of closed in and I was boxed in and I needed more. My soul needed more. I was yearning for more, but I didn't realize what kind of sacrifice will come with wanting more and going for what you want. After all, you have to pay some price. Yeah.
What was the price you paid?
I paid the price of having a connection with my children then. Coming to Nigeria, I would stay in my room sometimes and cry and think, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Because you left them.
I left them. My daughter was 13 and my son was 11. And me, now mind you, I was a hands-on mother. Come home to dinner, set the table, all of that. And quit my job just to raise my children. That's why I only had two. That's why I only had two. So when they grew up to a certain extent, I went back to working. But I sacrificed everything because I believe that they didn't ask to be born, so I wanted to give them everything. So leaving them with their father, that was a huge sacrifice. But then it changed around for me for good because my children one day, they come here quite often too, on vacation, and they love it. One day my daughter said to me, Mommy, I'm glad you made the decision you made. It was rough, but I'm glad you did. And you taught me, as a woman, go get what you want. Don't let anything hold you back. And for me, that was when I knew, okay.
Yes. Thank you. Because there must have been the fear that maybe at the point of making the decision, that maybe these children would understand.
Yes.
Judge you for it.
Absolutely. And leaving a husband.
Yes.
I left a husband.
You left the husband.
I left a husband who allowed me. We worked hand in hand, indeed, coming in. But it was difficult raising my children via the phone and video chats. But I had to be consistent, and they got sidetracked in a few things. Come on, a home with two parents and then becomes one, and daddy's just out there trying to make a living. And so the warmth of mom raising the children, you miss that. So they did miss that, but I think compensated for that. But yeah.
Did you pay a price for making that choice? You talk about the children. Did you pay a price with your marriage as well?
Divorce.
Yes.
So 5 years ago, divorce. That's a huge price. Good man, good father to his children. But I got to a place where I wanted more. And I would always travel back and forth, But I knew at a point that if I really want this, it came with a sacrifice. It wasn't a sacrifice of marriage, but then he being there and the distance didn't help. You see, when they tell we weren't young, but when they tell young couples, don't be apart in your marriage, long distance relationship just is strained. How much more someone who's been together for over 15 years as of that time, it was still difficult. But then I knew that I want this. If I go back and leave this, it would be too much of a sacrifice. And I would go to him empty. I wouldn't be myself. And at some point I would resent him. So I had to make that choice. And what I wanted, I had to focus on what I wanted. And thank God, great.
Did you judge yourself?
Oh yes. Look at you. You've become one of the statistics.
Yes!
You've become one of the statistics of women who get into the industry, and now I would say I thank God that God did it for me this way. Not when I was younger, just gave me my life. And then, I think this way it was better for me because I built a marriage, a life, and then had the children, and then progressed into this. So it's I had a better footing.
Yes.
Judge myself? Boy, did I judge myself. But then I had to let go of that.
What?
I suffered that judgment for so long.
Yeah.
Innately, I didn't tell anybody. People didn't know. I would read online, Shaffy Bello married for 25 years, or that. Everybody.
So there's the judgment of self, but what about the judgment of others? Was there that? I'm sure there was. I'm not. I don't know if there was, but usually there is.
Yes.
And how do you navigate that? Especially people who would say, and people are rather bold, so if they're Nigerian, they say, how do you choose career over family?
Yeah.
And how did you handle that?
Now I will say this. With age, hallelujah, thank God for 50. I don't care. I was 45 now. I've never been the one to care much what people say about me. It's more about what my children, my family, and the closest relatives that I have, what they say. Now, outside of that, it really didn't matter. But with them, even with them, because I have such a close-knit family, and for them it's, hey, you sure about this? Are you sure this is what you want to do? And when they knew that they could see the light in my eyes.
They could see the light in your eyes.
I didn't have to explain it much to my family. I didn't have to explain it much to my pastor. He saw me and, Shaffy, you're there. You're in your moment. And people could see that. Those who love me enough could see that, there's a light in this young's eyes. And so I didn't have to explain much. If you care about me enough and you're in my space, you would know that
some people, people, especially women, who are like, sometimes it's shame, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's what it feels like. Let me even stay with the family, and that one is working. What do you say to them? Because there's so many who just, I can't, just looking at you and I'm thinking,
can you imagine if I wasn't doing this?
What do you say to a woman who is struggling with, especially, and it's beautiful with your own kids because this is 15 years after your daughter married, you're not young, you're not, you had a career, doing something else. So, this is even, when you're younger, if you're 25, and you can be like, okay, let's go. At that time, everything is higher, the stakes are higher, the price is higher, absolutely, the cost is higher, much higher. So how do you tell a woman who's in that decision? What do you tell her?
I always say to women, honey, you're doing such a great job, first of all. You're doing such a great job. And I know that when you got married, you thought this is it. And then when the children came, you thought this is it. And then you parked all those things that you wanted to do. You parked them aside because everyone in your culture, in your country said to you, this is the destination. Marriage, children, this is it. But something within you tells you that there's more to me than being a mom and being a wife. What I will say is there's a time for everything. Your children are still young, babies, and you need to nurture them. They didn't ask to come. You brought them. Give them that time. Nurture them. Give them such a good foundation that you can trust it. So when it's time for you to fly, you can fly. It's not going to be easy, but you have to trust yourself. And you can have your marriage, your children, and your career. Absolutely. You can. You can. people are.
Yes, yes.
So why not?
Right. I love that.
It didn't work for me, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work for every woman.
Yes.
You just have to find your own niche, find your own self, what works for you, how you can maneuver it. But don't you dare forget yourself and your dreams. Yeah.
Now, what do I think about this issue of sacrificing your family for your career as a woman? First of all, to start with, right now, I have 3 children, okay? My kids are young, 3 children under 7, and sometimes I feel like I am juggling too much, okay? I'm living in Australia where I have little or no help, and I'm working full-time. At the same time, I'm trying to run this YouTube channel, I have a blog. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing so much. Sometimes I feel like I am cheating my kids, even though we are still living together, even though we are still, we are not apart. But, there are so many things I have to do that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, do you think you're doing the right thing? For instance, when I have to go to work and my husband also has to go to work and I have to drop them off, with a friend or with a carer, and sometimes I'm away for like 10 hours, 12 hours, and, sometimes I feel like it's a bit unfair, I think the point I'm trying to make is that as a woman, there's always that conflict, there's always that contradiction. You love your family, you love your children, but at the same time, you want more, you want to do more with your life, you want to pursue your career, you want to do things that you're interested in, and then there comes this conflict of you think one side is missing out, you think you're not able to balance the whole equation, and I believe that is a dilemma that almost every woman today is facing. Okay, but then how do we balance this issue of family and career? Why does it even always have to be women? Why do we always have to be the ones to make tough decisions? But anyway, that is life. Life is not fair. I think I strongly agree with what Shaffy Bello said to women, that you can be what you want to be, but when your children are small, you need to make that sacrifice. Okay, take out time to nurture your kids when they're still little. Okay, especially when they're still babies. You have to sacrifice your career at that point to nurture your kids. By the time they grow up and they become teenagers, they get to 16, 15, then you can do whatever you want to do. All right. So my opinion and my advice to anybody who is probably watching me and facing this kind of dilemma would be, whatever you do, whenever you neglect your family for your career, instead what you should do is to find a middle ground between your family and your career. Because at the end of the day, if you neglect your family, if you neglect your children to pursue your career, you might make it, you might become successful, but at the end of the day, especially when you're old, if you look back and see that your children do not turn out well and your family is not in order, you are going to regret it, and eventually you're not going to enjoy that success or the fame or the accomplishment that you have gotten in your career. So the wise thing for any woman to do would be to do anything, whatever it might take, within your power, within your ability, to create that middle ground. That should be your primary focus. Try as much as possible, do whatever you can do to find a middle ground, okay, so that your family will not suffer, and at the same time you will not lose yourself. You will still be able to pursue your dreams and your goals. If it means holding on, if it means just waiting for a while, maybe waiting for your kids to grow up to a certain age, or pursue your career, part-time, so to say, like instead of going all in, you can just be touching 1 or 2 things here and there while patiently waiting for your kids to come of age, and then you can try and do whatever you want to do, and then at the end of the day you'll be glad that you made that sacrifice. Okay, my darlings, don't lose yourself all in the name of family, but at the same time don't sacrifice your family for career, because family is ultimately the most important thing. And with that, I have come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Smash the subscribe button, and I will definitely see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.